is up, and it's good.
You're listening to The Extra Point.
Welcome in. It is Tuesday night. We are post NFL draft. We are mid to late. Some of you might already be done with your rookie drafts. I hope that you got everybody that you wanted. I hope you've been making amazing trades. Kendall and I are going to go through as many players as we can tonight, give you as much information as we can for our own takes, what we're seeing across our own drafts, because yes, we are drafting on our own right now as well. And ultimately, we want to make sure that if you're still in these middle, second, early third rounds, that you're getting as much value out of this as we can. Kendall, I'm going to start at the top. It's pretty easy. Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson as the first three kind of skill position players off the board in the real NFL draft. I may say a little bit of surprise, but look, we're not going to talk about Love, Tate, and Tyson. Great landing spot, I think, for Tyson. Great landing spot for Tate. Good landing spot for Love. Let's start with the big wow of the night. Superflex league. This is definitely a conversation we need to have. One quarterback league, probably not as much, but the big wow, of course, Ty Simpson at the 13th overall pick to the Rams. If you are in a Superflex league, how early are you pulling the trigger on Simpson? And where are you with him? Because Stafford's there. So where are you with Simpson, Kendall, and how early would you take him in a Superflex?
I've had this come up a few times already. It is typically between the 108 and the 110 in Superflex. Normally the this or that is Omar Cooper Jr. or Ty Simpson. That's kind of what I've been faced with the most. I hate saying my first thought was like, what's my quarterback room? Like, what's my need look like? Whenever I think, like, I don't typically draft based on need. I think that's more low-level thinking. But in really competitive leagues, when trading typically involves, you don't always gain value. You can kind of be taxed sometimes when you want to get in or out of a situation. So sometimes you want a tiebreaker based on not having to move pieces, because you don't always win every trade in really high-end competitive leagues. In fact, that's not quite the norm. So that's the range I'm taking him. I do like Stowers quite a bit. I think everyone knows this. It really depends on tight end premium or not, though, depending on where that goes. Me personally, I'm taking Stowers before all of that. It's just how I believe in him, but I think that's only in tight end premium. I think he's probably just a tight end like everybody else that won't crack the top 3 or 4. So with that being said, if you're in a league that values quarterback relatively good, I think you just go with Ty Simpson. If you need the flex player, if you want to be a little more competitive, like I do think Cooper Jr. is going to be nice. I just think he's got limited ceiling. So that's where he goes. I'll just say this. I'm a bigger fan of drafting Ty Simpson because every pick has to have value. And this draft for me is about doing the best with a bad situation and finding value wherever it can be, even if it's a risky value. I think everyone else is going to, the amount of players that aren't busts but don't pop, like there's a middle ground, right? Not everyone's a bust if they don't pop. I think this class is going to have a lot of guys, a lot of like Christian Kirk's but worse type of a thing. And so because of that, I just want some things that can pop. And you can trade off of a little bit of pop even if it isn't sustained. So Ty Simpson is I'm probably going to trade him in 27 for 28 picks. And I think I can spin more value out of him than I can anyone else in that range. So I'm leaning him for the most part.
I have been very fortunate in 2 leagues that I had the 105 and Mendoza fell to me. So I haven't had to make this decision, but I'll be 1,000% honest. I would not have drafted Ty Simpson. Here's why. He's on the shelf for 2 years unless there's an injury. And I've got some serious concerns with the reaction of Sean McVay. Is not positive at all. He can walk it back all he wants and give all the coach speak about me and Les are on the same page and we're in lockstep. Bullshit. He did not want Ty Simpson. I'm shocked that they didn't take I've seen so many, and as a Niners fan, I've seen so many videos of pissed off Rams fans because Mekhi Lemon was on the board. And if you're telling me that you could have taken Mekhi Lemon on a rookie contract to replace Devontae Adams, who's got 1, maybe 2 years left, to pair with Puka Nacua, to give yourself a chance to win the Super Bowl now, replace your superstar, most likely first ballot Hall of Fame wide receiver, and have a plan in place for succession, this is the Rams we're talking about. They do two things well. They win football games, and they bring in veteran players. F them picks. That's how they've been. So if you're telling me that Les Snead couldn't find a trade next year where all the quarterbacks are, I'm calling his bluff, because I hear you. They won't be picking at 13 again. That's true. They won't. But move up the board. Find a way to figure it. I'm struggling with this because you've got a player here, and I get it. The positive spin is this. It's the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre situation. It's the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation. But it took Jordan Love 4 years before he played. He was in the 5th. They had to pick up his 5th-year option as a first-round player for him to – he wouldn't even play his rookie contract out, number one. And number two, he went 20th or 21st to the Packers, not 13th. So I'm out on Ty Simpson personally because I don't want a quarterback that I've got to wait 2 years to see what he is. And if the Rams win the Super Bowl, I don't know that Sean McVay is the coach of this team in the next 2 years when it's Ty Simpson's time. So I think it's a very
that thought's got to be going through McVay's head. Like,
I think
you start Ty Simpson is the second I'm an analyst.
I think it is. I'm not kidding. I think it is, and I think he's smart enough not to say it. And if they win the Super Bowl, I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move on because we got a lot of players to talk about. Sean McVay has a Tom Brady. I would imagine. I can't believe he wouldn't. He has a Tom Brady-like offer probably just sitting there waiting for him at Fox or ESPN or CBS, whatever network he wants to go to. I promise you, maybe not the same amount of money that Brady got. Maybe, I don't know. But my point is that he will have an offer, probably multiple offers, just waiting for him when he is ready to hang up the coach's clipboard, whatever you want to call it, play call sheet. So I want to move on to your boy. I say that with joking gesture because we know how much you don't like him. Let's make this quick because I think we're on the same page here. Kenyon Sadiq to the Jets. I think it's we talk about this all the time. I think it's a better real life move than a fantasy football move. I think we're both in lockstep, unlike Les Snead and Sean McVay. I think we are in lockstep on that.
I mean, I think it's terrible for all. They don't know how to use tight end, right?
Well,
if you don't know how to use tight end, why would you the value in those tight ends is entirely predicated on the coaching and offensive system. That's how you can make these questionable picks make sense, but you don't know how to use anybody. So why would you take a player that needs direction and coaching when you're the coach?
I've seen Kenyon Sadiq go as high in some of my drafts as the 105, and I've seen him only go as late as the 108.
I don't get it, man.
I've taken Stowers everywhere. I just got Stowers at the 203 in a 12-team league.
Wow.
In a 12-team league, I couldn't believe it. I didn't even have to trade up for him, and then I made a trade late last night in a 12-team league to come up to 12 to get him because the guy that was at the 201 had, I think his starting tight end might have been what's the kid in Vegas? Mayer, I think was his number one tight end. So I was like, well, there's no way he's not taking him. So I had to jump the line, and I'm so glad I did. But here's my thing. I'm going to toss this to you really quickly. Garrett Wilson is a Jet. He is the alpha. He has been paid like the alpha. Breece Hall is on a 1-year deal, but he catches passes. You just drafted Omar Cooper Jr. You've got Kenyon Sadiq. I think it's a great pick for the Jets organization. For fantasy, I think it's atrocious because where are all the targets coming from? Because Garrett Wilson's not giving them up. So I know you were very low on Sadiq before the draft, Kendall. Are you, now that you've seen the landing spot, are you still as low, or are you out?
I mean, I'll never be out because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of guys that like him, right? So, I would love to collaborate with the Fantasy Stock Exchange guys. By the way, man, I feel like I'm just giving them props all the time by mentioning
Get them on the
Stock
show.
Exchange, man. I might reach out after this and just say, man, you don't know how best friends we are, dude. So FSE guys, man, if you're around, dude, we should hang. We think a lot alike. So it's a buy to trade, right? I'll take him when I have to because I know I can flip him. right? And I can flip him pretty quick, and I'm not waiting. I'm flipping him as soon as possible. But is the question like where I'd take him? Is that kind of what you're looking at, or what can I tell you about my hatred for Sadiq that people want to know?
I think my question is are you drafting him at all to actually keep him and believing that I understand that you would take him to flip him. I've taken players in this draft. I passed on running backs in this draft earlier today. Actually, I passed on Jonah Coleman and Nicholas Singleton in a league. And I took, you've seen this, you're in the league with me. I had the 203 and 204, and I passed on both in a league where I need a running back, to be fair. But I think the situations that they're in is murky. I'll talk about Singleton when we get to him. I do think his situation has some upside, but the draft capital is dog shit. But I took Chris Bell and Antonio Williams because I think in this year, Antonio Williams should, even when Brandon Ayuk shows up, if Brandon Ayuk shows up, Williams has more upside to flip. So I'm all for taking a player to flip him. But if you're a Kenyon Sadiq believer, do you really think that he is going to be in the Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, Tucker Kraft, that kind of tier 2 Tucker Kraft, Colston Loveland caliber player? Because at the 105, that's how people are taking him.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like people think he might be like Kittle, a guy that's just like he's got like Kittle mixed with Scattaboo but bigger, like a guy that's just gonna like pinball and do some fun stuff and be like a weird mismatch. And all power to him if he can. Yeah, I'll just say this way: I haven't found a way, even though Stowers is my tight end 1, I haven't found a way to take Stowers over him unless if it's just a content league where I'm like, look, I'm going to give up value just to call my shot because I want a couple of clicks and stuff. I'll be honest. I'll give up a little value when my team is a full-on juggernaut just to like call my shot and call it marketing. I'm gonna be real, right? It's like I just want to be so right that I have to give up value to prove if I can be right. But outside of that, I am taking Sadiq basically after price and KC, which is kind of in line with ADP. And I'm putting the pick on the block as soon as it's there. I'm asking for almost no value. I mean, I will be thin. If I can get the 1 pick next for an extra 3rd round in 27, that's a snap. I'll do it. Normally that's pretty thin, but it's fine. That's really what I'm looking for is telling the chat, I am taking Sadiq here, even though I hate him. It's a 3rd plus the next pick is yours. If it's the pick after that, maybe I want a future 2nd. And I've been asking folks like, don't give me your 27s. I know they're valuable. I get it. If it's not a crazy high buy-in league, I know you get to pay it for it. Give me a 28-2, and you can move up 2 spots to take him. Something along those lines. I have roster space issues or adding like a Jalen Coker or a Caleb Johnson for someone to move up like a spot or 2 type of thing. That's kind of what I'm looking for is a little dart throw because I don't really care. That's enough value. So that's why I'm still sticking and picking to basically play out for that value.
Yeah. Mekhi Lemon, 20th overall to the Eagles. Smash. Thank you very much. Let's get on with it. Casey Concepcion, are you betting on the talent or are you concerned that there is going to be at least 1 year this year of quarterback issues and then next year it's going to be a rookie? So my question to you is, does KC have enough talent for you to take him at this 106, 107 to believe that while we all think this year is going to be rough, that better days are ahead in 2027?
Yeah, I actually like the landing spot quite a bit. Quite a bit? Wow, I've had some whiskey tonight, man. Let's get there. Let's just do it.
It's a brand of razor, not a sponsor.
There we go. We'll take it, though. So quickly, I like the landing spot because I like offenses that can become a 2-target funnel. Fannin, I know you're in there, but even if you're a tight end, I feel like Fannin might be a little bit of a loser here. It's actually Boston that's kind of the loser for me in the 2-target funnel. But the Eagles are a 2-target funnel where that Goddard still does quite well, right? That's kind of a decent example. Mm-hmm. For a little while you could almost call it the 49ers that where you got Kittle as kind of the tight end, but it's really McCaffrey in a 1 somewhere. So I think KC is going to be the guy, and I think Boston is most likely going to be what I kind of refer to as the sacrificial X, right?
Yep.
He's going to be running a lot of sprints, right? And I think he's capable of catching a ball. Don't get me wrong. I think he's fine. His prospect profile isn't terrible, but more often than not, I don't think the quarterbacks in that room have the confidence to throw the deep ball, let alone the coach having the confidence to tell him to throw the deep ball. So it's going to be a lot of 9s that aren't really in the target tree, to be honest with you. I think that favors KC a lot. Remember, there were some weird games where wow, he's literally, I just call him Jag at this point because I forget his actual name. Who's there right now? Who am I thinking of? Who's there
Judy.
one right now? Yeah, Judy. All right, so
He's
there was games.
He's worth forgetting.
Judy had like 13 targets a couple times, like crazy target numbers, right? Because the Browns were still losing games, and I still think there's some overpowered offenses. So just to make this quick, I think Casey is going to average something kind of like a Garrett Wilson, where he's going to be like, wow, that is some serious targets. He's not doing as much as we'd like with him, but he's getting a crazy amount of targets. So I like the PPR thing. I think he can do well. And the Browns, secretly, I don't think they need the most competent quarterback play to do pretty okay. I think the running game's real solid, and they have enough weapons at this point that like somebody should be open. I don't think they need the most competent quarterback play when they get the ball in pretty decent field position a lot. They can run the ball in a lot of downs without you doing much about it. That's going to benefit offensive players at some point in time just because you're in good spots. So is it the world's best landing spot? No, but good, yes.
Well, them not needing good, competent quarterback play is not hard to find because they don't have it. At the 30th pick in the first round, the Jets traded back in from the early second to grab Omar Cooper Jr. Everyone's disappointed by Concepcion, Cooper, and Boston from a fantasy perspective because the landing spots are bad. Yeah. Number one. Number two, it's almost like a like for like mirror situation. The landing spots are bad. They took multiple pass catching options, two receivers for the Browns, two pass catchers, Jets, the tight end for the Jets, right? Neither of the quarterbacks will be there beyond this year. Todd Monken will be there next year, but help me with my brain just went blank. Aaron Glenn will not be the Jets head coach next season. He probably won't be the Jets head coach by week 9. So it's like
maybe they'll trade a first for McVay.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be so sick.
Idea. That's not a bad idea.
That'd be so sick.
They have a lot of them. And there's your quarterback. We'll give you a quarterback, LA, if you give us the coach.
Honestly,
the Jets are going to have the 101 or 102.
That'd
be the best trade ever. Right, but it's like a mirror situation, right? And so for fantasy, we're dying over here because, number one, this class wasn't very good to begin with. The ceilings weren't very high. It's a lot of wide receiver 2s, running back 2s, and the running backs in this class just got buried in the 4th and 5th rounds.
I've never seen that before.
Nor have I. It's the fewest. I saw the statistic. It's the fewest number of running backs in the common draft era ever selected. But Omar Cooper Jr. is a shame because I really thought that the Raiders would come up for him, or that I was hoping that he'd be there. We talked about it last week on the pre-draft show that I said I really hope that either Boston or Cooper at the 203 or whatever that pick, 34, 35, 36, whatever the Raiders had, that he would be sitting there, because I thought that would be great for him to, because the Raiders did a lot, but they didn't add a receiver. And it's like, dang, if you could have got Boston there, if you could have got Cooper there, that's a different conversation. So I'm bummed on Omar Cooper Jr. for the same reason that I'm bummed on Sadiq in a sense, right? Like, you're never going to be Omar Cooper Jr. just became the new poor man's Jordan Addison. You're never going to be the one on your team. It's Garrett Wilson's team. It's Justin Jefferson's team. So it's like the highest ceiling you have now is probably wide receiver 18 because you don't have a quarterback. So I'm fine with people taking the shot on Cooper at the 108 to 110 range, but you're drafting a wide receiver too, man. And that's on the good days, because it's going to be, here's my last thought on Cooper, and then we're going to move on. I feel like Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be that guy when you look at your lineup, you're going to go, you can't start that guy. I don't trust him, because last week I put him in my lineup and he was 3 for 32. And then the week that he was on your bench, he was 4 for 100 and a touchdown. And that's what's going to happen, because it's going to be inconsistent and you're just going to be frustrated. So this is why I said, Kendall, we talked about it ad nauseum for the last 2 months. I said, either move up in this draft or trade out. I've been beating that drum for months. I'm going to take this one. It's going to take me 10 seconds and I'm going to move on. DeJon Stribling at the top of the second round. What in the actual fuck?
You could say that about the whole draft.
You could say that about the whole draft, but it's
your team's draft. What happened, man?
Here's I said 10 seconds. I want to move on because I saw DeJon Stribling go today for the first time in a draft. The earliest I have seen him go is the 207. That's the earliest I've seen him go. And that's my point. So what happened? I think there's one thing. Howie Roseman probably is the smartest man in the room. And I think there's times when he lets you know he's the smartest guy in the room. And I think there's a lot more times when his cards are so close to his chest, you don't know he's the smartest man in the room. The Niners not only think they're the smartest people in the room, they are beating their chest that they're the smartest people in the room. And everyone except for the Rams, because they made a dumb fucking pick too, is going, well, you can have that guy 75 picks early. Sure. So listen, I want these kids to be successful. This is their lifelong dream. This is what they've worked their entire lives to get to this moment, to have the chance to be a professional player. I want DeJon Stribling to be good for him, for his family, and for the Niners. I don't see the path. Denzel Boston lands with the Browns. Kendall, you and I had some issues with the profile. He had a late breakout age. He's kind of that bully ball guy. They draft Concepcion. Jerry Jeudy, whether we like him or not, is still under contract and lingering. You've mentioned they want to run the ball, and they have a good running game with the Todd Monken offense. You can have all the playmakers and pass catchers in the world, but if you don't have competent quarterback play, your ceiling's lower. Are you believing that Denzel Boston can emerge and beat Jerry Jeudy in camp to be the wide receiver 2 on this team? Or do you think it's going to be Jeudy and Concepcion?
I think Denzel's a role player on the team. I think his snap share is pretty abysmal. I think he's going to come in to catch some back shoulder fades. I think there's going to be some defensive packages where you need the bully ball guy because it's just what's given to you, right? And you're hoping to God that your quarterback can make the play, because as a type of guy where if you miss that throw, you better miss it in the right direction. And I don't love their quarterback room, right? So I think he's more of a kind of how like some teams will use big tight ends in some packages. I think they're going to use the bully ball thing when it makes sense. Otherwise, he's kind of running sprints. So I don't really. Yep. I mean, new coaching in there, so I don't really know what that's gonna look like. But for the most part, I think he's going to be a limited snap share guy who is he's gonna need a while to get in sync with his quarterback. I think these sacrificial X's really rely on timing with a quarterback, specific timing. And we got a room that's who's throwing with the practice guys, who's throwing with the starters. I think he's a guy that, like, I see some potential in 27, don't get me wrong, but I think 26, it just ain't his year, to be honest.
Jeremy Bernard at the 15th pick here. The Steelers trade up for him. I'm going to be honest. I didn't love his profile coming out. I've seen a lot of him. I'm an SEC guy. I've watched a ton of Alabama football. I don't like the landing spot. The quarterback situation is murky. I think the Steelers, here's my honest to God truth that I think is real. I don't think the Steelers wanted to trade up for him. I think they did as a reaction to the fact that they didn't get Mekhi Lemon and they felt they had to get a wide receiver. I don't know that this is a player that they were targeting, and I'll be very transparent. If they had gotten Mekhi Lemon, I don't think they draft him at all. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't still go in the second round, but this is a deep shot, MVS. What's the kid in Seattle? My brain always loses it. Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed. Like, this is not a possession receiver. This is not a contested catch guy. I'm out on Steelers pass catchers with DK Metcalf and Pittman there, and who knows who the quarterback is. So Eli Stowers, and we called this one. We said how he's going to either get him in the second or he's going to trade up to get him.
I got so many texts from all my people, man. You guys, y'all knew. Like my wife had to tell my kids, "Daddy's not mad. He's actually really happy." He's the opposite, because I threw an absolute fit about this. I was like, everybody knows, like, he was like my favorite guy in the draft, and he goes to like the absolute like dream landing spot for me with AJ Brown leaving. Like, it was just so smooth, and he gets a kind of a learning year too, which is just so sexy. I love it.
This is I think this is the best fantasy pick that you can make this season. I think it's going to be the most impactful. Let's move on to another tight end. I don't care about Nate Borkersher. I don't care about Marlon Klein. Yeah, exactly. So there was 600 tight ends taken, but this was a player.
Tight ends know who's a blocking tight end and who's a pass catcher, right? Gadsden is not Klein, all right? Klein's a German beard shrinker, all right? He's there to hurt people. Him and Kittle and 224 racks would be an absolute house of a podcast.
That would be. But I do want to talk about this player for 30 seconds.
All right.
Max Clare. Because he had a lot of pre-draft hype. He gets decent draft capital. He goes to the Rams. He is a pass catcher. Are you interested in Max Clare now that he's a Ram with second round draft capital, knowing that Colby Parkinson and everybody else on the Rams is old, and Higbee is, they're all old and injured. Are you interested in Max Clare in the third round of a rookie draft, or are you looking at the back of the second? Is that somewhere where you consider him?
Look, Phil, I don't know how it's going to shake out, but come sometime in 27, I think Devontae is gone, and I think they have this weird offense that kind of looks like Seattle, where you got a guy and you got a lot of 12 and 13 personnel that the team likes to use, right? And I think that's going to be a thing. I still got faith in Ferguson. I liked him. I actually liked that he got some red zone targets in the playoffs, and he did much better with him than Parkinson, who probably cost him a game. So look, I don't know. I think in 26, there's just tight ends are already tight ends, right? So let's call that a thing, right? You kind of need your dart throw tight ends to like emerge. I think this is a team you want to own tight ends on. You got to know that it's a low percentage dart throw, and when it works out, it's still just a tight end. So like limit expectations on what the upside is, because even if half the tight ends leave, he's still not the one, kinda. So like temper expectations, but with that, you have a pass catching room that is shrinking fast. Like when Devontae is gone, there's actually not a lot there, right? So there's going to be a future segment where people talk about the vacated targets in the Rams and how one, maybe two people are going to emerge. And that's going to be a thing, right? So Claire is kind of my, like, if you have any other dart throws that you like ahead of him, I probably like them. But at a certain point, it kind of runs out. And he's the dart throw that is going to be on the field more than your other dart throws. Your other dart throws might be on the field, not at all. He will be. What he does with it isn't much, though. Temper expectations. I do want him, but we'll see. Between him and Ferguson in 27, 28. Tight ends play pretty late, too, so give it a couple years. I think the pick will sound a lot better by like 27, 28, but not in 26.
Here's what I'll say to finish this, because I do want to spend some time on these next guys, this third and fourth round guys, because truly most of your rookie drafts are over. Excuse me, the first rounds are over, so you are in the second and third round. So I want to spend some time on the show tonight. I feel like we kind of been buzzing through these guys, but here's where I'm at with Max Clare to kind of wrap that up. Max Clare is a player that I want to trade for in a year or two when the vibes are terrible, when he's done nothing and people are just like, you know what, I'm just ready to get out because it hasn't been good. And I think I can get him super cheap because, to your point, I think he'll have some relevance later on. But he's not someone that I would take personally and just sit with a roster spot for my exact same reason. I don't want to wait 2 years for it to happen, 3 years for it to happen. So I'd rather trade for him when someone else is just fed up and get on with it. I do want to talk about this player for a minute because he's interesting to me, and I'm curious if he's interesting to you. All week, last week, the steam engine was humming. Ty Simpson to the Cardinals. Ty Simpson to the Cardinals. And then the big bomb happens, 13th overall to the Rams. And Carson Beck at the top of the third winds up in Arizona. I'm going to let you go first, Kendall, because I want to hear your thoughts on it, and then I'll share mine. Where are you with this landing spot, knowing that it's not Ty Simpson, that Jacoby is 33 years old, and even though he wants starter money, and they might give it to him, he ain't getting a 5-year, $80 million deal. So where are you with Carson Beck here instead of Ty Simpson now that the Cardinals have a quarterback?
My general thoughts are I'm pretty down on him. Like not even in general. I mean, even with the if you don't think a lot of him, what could happen? I'm not there. I think experience means a lot in the NFL. I think guys that come in and suck, they get a lot better, but they don't increase their high end. They diminish their mistakes. The NFL is just made up of do your job. There's a lot of systems, and I think Beck's just, I don't think he's got enough snaps. I don't think he has enough NFL ready traits. And I'm kind of like Tom Brady's on the dude, these guys got to sit for a year, man. If you're ready, you're ready. But the kids are growing up soft, man. And, and a lot of that's not, I'm not saying that's their parents' fault. I'm saying the world has made it comfortable. So everyone grows up soft. It's not their fault, right? But because of that, this is their first real job, right? Like me and
Yep.
you are significantly older, and we could tell Carson Beck a lot about life out in the real world in the streets and kind of how having a day job works, corporate politics. He doesn't know any of that, right? And I don't think he knows enough about what he's doing. And then 27 is going to hit. And I don't know what happens then, right? So there are situations where I'm like, I think the timing could be okay and he'll have something. I think the quarterback in front of him is just going to eat his lunch all day, every snap of 26. I don't think he sees the field at all in 26. And then there's a real consideration in 27 based on their record on what happens. I don't know what their record's like because sadly they might not suck as much as you think. They did this weird thing where they took Jeremiah Love. And so they might be like this weird, like, Pittsburgh Steelers screwed themselves eternally, and their fan base knows it more than anybody I'm talking to, where it's like, hey, when 500 is worse than less than 500, and the Cardinals might be that in 26, where they screw themselves out of a decent pick in 27, which is going to be massively value, because I think they're going to win a couple close games here and there, and they can control some clock, and they got a quarterback that he just threw the ball 50 times a game for like half a season. He basically played 2 seasons last year with the amount of times he threw the ball, right? You don't think he's going to level up a little bit? I think he does. So I think Beck's toast for me.
So I love when we are aligned, but we're also taking a different lens for why we're aligned. I like this player because of X, and you like this player because of Y, but it still leads to the same result of like, dang, there's a lot to like about this player I didn't see.
And then maybe race in the same league to trade for the guy. Is that about to happen? Do I need to get there?
I'm in on Carson. Listen to my sentence before you throw your glass of whiskey through the computer screen at my face here.
All right.
I'm in on Carson Beck in the 3rd round of a super flex draft.
All right, that's fair.
Here's why. Jacoby threw it 50 times. Jacoby is 34 years old. I don't see
almost as old as me.
Yeah. I don't see a world where Carson Beck is the starter for this team. Phil, how could you be in on a player that's not the starter? Because I think he is a perennial backup. And sometimes you need that because I do see a path. And that's why I'm in on him in the 3rd round of a super flex league only. Because if you have a guy like a young version of Joe Flacco. Everybody wanted Joe Flacco last year because it's the Bengals. They have great pass catchers. I traded Joe Flacco in a league, and I got a 2nd-round pick for a 40-year-old quarterback who had no future.
That is unreal, dude.
But the guy needed a quarterback. He was
putting up top 5 numbers, though, man.
He was putting up. And the week after I traded him, you know exactly what week it was. It was the time he threw it to Jamar Chase 87 times that week, right? He got 27 targets, Jamar Chase, or whatever stupid number it was. He broke the fucking NFL record. And then I was like, this is it. This is as good as it gets. And I sold him. And I got a 2nd out of it, right? And then 2 weeks later, Flacco's dead, back to earth, and Burrow comes back. You know the story. Again, Carson Beck, here's why I'm in. There is a world. I don't agree with you on the Cardinals winning too many games. I think this roster is toast. I think we like their fantasy options, and that's great, but I don't think they're going to win a lot of football games.
I just want the fantasy footballers to have to lament their team winning games. I want to watch that.
That's my division. I watch this team twice a year at a minimum, and obviously I obviously watch them more because of Marv and Trey and all these things. But let me get back to Carson Beck. I believe wholeheartedly, as we all do, that the Cardinals will take their quarterback of the future next year. But what if the kid's a bust? What if he sucks? What if he doesn't develop? What if he gets injured? I see multiple ways that Carson Beck is going to have some useful weeks for you on your roster. So in the 3rd round of a super flex, there's no one else there. I think it could work. And if you're in week 13 and you need to win to get into the playoffs, and you don't have a quarterback because of a bye week or because of injuries, which is going to happen, that's where a Carson Beck could be useful. And that's why I'm in on him in the 3rd round, because I don't know. We're going to get to this guy in a couple minutes here. I don't know if that's true for Drew Aller. I don't know if that's true. I think we think it could be, but Will Howard is still there. Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. There's just I agree with you. I don't think that Carson Beck is a starter. I don't think he's a world beater. But I see multiple paths where he could have a couple of weeks each season of fantasy relevance, and you don't have to go and scrape the waiver wire and hope that Davis Mills gives, you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of player that's out there. So yeah, in the third round, in a super flex only, I'm gonna take a flyer, and if I'm wrong, it costs me nothing.
Well, I'll tell you what, real talk, because we'll just combine the takes. Because Aller, I don't have a player take. Honestly, I like you guys aren't paying me for a Drew Aller player take because I'm such an NFL phenom that I understand quarterbacks, right? Like I have got something to say, but the main thing here is, and I already regret a couple picks. This was fun. It's fun, like doing a draft and then doing shows on it, right? Where you're like, I made some mistakes. Y'all want to hear about them and maybe not mess up as much as I did. I don't think they're mistakes, but when I look back at my drafts that have already concluded or have gotten through the third round, it might be in the fourth round in some cases, I think that pretty much the entirety of those rounds, you're going to wish you could sell for like the 405 one day. But it's not going to be there for you. Like they're going to be complete roster cloggers. And for me, I'm actually on the like, dude, 301 through. And I wish I had done this because I've got some leagues where I stocked up on some extra thirds and fourths and it just didn't pan out this class, right? Like, goodness. I want to take Beck. I want to take Nussmeier. Well, not really Nussmeier. I want to take Beck. I want to take Aller, and I want to take Klubnik. And I think I just want to like, I want if you have multiple picks in that round, just take two of those three guys and increase your chances. If one of them becomes Shadur, you get to flip that for a second. You trade 2/3 for a second most years anytime you can get it. And that's literally taking 2/3 and drafting two backup quarterbacks and saying sometime in the future, I can probably trade one of these guys for a second. That is more hope than I can give probably 75% or probably 95% of that third round, in my opinion.
Let's play a game because I love my games. This is going to
be. We got to bring the games back. Dude.
I know. Well, when we move the show back to Wednesdays, which we will in 2 weeks, then I'll have a lot more time to do it.
All sorts of new things coming, huh?
Lots of new things coming. This is a modified version of King of the Hill / Winner Stays On. You ready? 3-0. You're at the 301. Super flex. You also have the 308. You desperately need a quarterback. You took Mendoza in the first round, who might sit for 6 to 8 weeks. You don't have any. You have Mahomes, you have Knicks, and you just took Mendoza. You do not have a single other option on your roster at all at quarterback. Everybody is.
You got early bye weeks. Okay.
Well, it's just toast. Your rest of your guys are. I have Tyson Bagent. Sorry, this is my team. I'm giving you a real world scenario.
Okay.
I have Tyson Bagent. That's the caliber of guy that's like not. Yeah, sure, but like
strong
it's not
parenting Bagent.
Right, exactly. But it's not real, right? Would you take Carson Beck or Emmett Johnson?
Carson Beck.
Would you take Carson Beck, Elijah Surratt?
Carson Beck.
Chris Brazzell?
Beck. Well, your team, no return yards, right?
No.
Brazzell, by the way, in leagues
PPR.
that have return yards, just keep in mind, if you do nothing else with this class, if your league does anything with return yards, that's the only thing to be thinking of. Your branches, your Brazzells, they mean something. Go ahead.
Zachariah Branch.
Branch. I actually like Branch.
Okay. Ted Hurst. That's a Beck one for me because Tampa Bay.
It's back. It is back. I like
it's
Hurst.
Jalen McMillan. It's Emeka Egbuka. It's Bucky. Godwin's still there. Like Ted Hurst is in Tampa.
I like their wide receiver 4. I like every wide receiver on that team. I've traded you for all of them. So
we've flipped a lot of those guys. Jacoby Lane, Carson Beck.
I gotta go Jacoby Lane there.
Okay. Skylar Bell, Carson Beck.
Love the Bills. I don't think it works, Beck.
This is the 301. DeJon Stribling is still on the board, by the way. That should tell you what you need to know. So I have in this league
Stribling only because I think their trade market in the near future is there.
Yeah. I have 3 firsts next year. My biggest need was quarterback. And Mendoza fell to me at 5, which was a huge win. And then Kendall, the trade that I told you I made to come up to 12 to get Stowers, which was a massive need because I have Goddard and Likely and Kate Otten. So I am on cloud 9 in this draft right now for how the board has fallen to me here. But if I take Beck here at the 301 with Mendoza in 27, I could still take a quarterback because there's class. That's the way the class is. But it gives me 3 firsts to grab some skill guys as well. So I wanted to bring that up because it's a real world scenario. And I think that helps people, but it's enough on Carson Beck. We're going to go through the other guys kind of quickly here because we did spend some time on that. I said we would because look, everyone's playing Superflex. That's the preferred format of choice right now, right? TEP
These
is
the real
important.
decisions are made here, though. Like they're small, but you're the extra point, right? This is what
That's
we're doing.
why
We're
this
trying
is
to.
point.
I'll give big ups to like our buddy. I don't think he's with us right now, but Adam C, good league runner. By the way, if you're looking for a league, hit him up. Good dude. I've never seen a guy spend more time trying to like massage like third round flips, like third, fourth for third, fourth, so he can move up 2 spots. And honestly, I love it. Like that's the science behind this draft. It's like if you love fantasy football, if you love Dynasty, right? Like this is it's the ugliest draft of all time, but like shoot, let's play around in the sandbox, man. Like this is the time to like screw around a little bit if you can. I'm not touching my 27 picks for this class at all. I'm not moving up at all for that kind of stuff.
No,
Like, it's way too advanced.
No way.
But if I have so many teams where, you know me, sometimes I'm willing to trade a big asset for like multiple pieces. Normally it's not recommended, but when I do, it's taxed. I'm taxing them pretty hard. I have a few lineups where I ended up with, I'll show you some leagues, man. I've got 3/3 and 4/4 in more than one league. This draft. Like I am living in hell in those drafts, but I'm finding a way to make that work. And that's why I had this take on like, well, I can take all of the quarterbacks. I have a league where I took in a row Aller, Beck, Klubnik. That happened in the 3rd round. So I'm just saying there are ways to trade in and out. There are players where the entire round is shit, but there are some guys that are maybe worth trading within this class. Tiny bits of value, like ever so slightly, because maybe something can happen, but that's what I got.
Antonio Williams quickly becoming. I want to say this before we talk about it. We're not going to talk about Antonio Williams. We're going to mention it. We're going to talk about it for 10 seconds. The ADP is all over the place right now. I've seen Jonah Coleman go at the 201. I've seen him go at the 210. I'm in a league right now at the 209, and he's still on the board. So it's chaos because the first round was so easy, and the first 5 picks were so easy, and then 6 through 9 were pretty darn easy. And then after 109, you know this because we're in the group chat, and I've said it probably 4 times in the last 2 days. The draft is over at the 108 in single quarterback and over at the 109 in Superflex. So as far as like ceiling guys go. So I'm seeing a lot of Antonio Williams, Chris Bell, Jonah Coleman at the 201, 202. Now, Coleman's ADP is crazy, but Williams and Bell have settled in pretty early in the 2nd round. I love the landing spot for Antonio Williams. I know Brandon Ayuk's going to be a commander. Everyone does, but Brandon Ayuk hasn't played football in 2 years. He's got Antonio Brown CTE vibes. I don't say that to be funny. I say that to be very serious. Like, I'm not sure mentally that he's in the best position to be playing football. I think he needs some serious help. I think Antonio Williams wins this wide receiver 2 job in an offense that we like. And even if Ayuk comes back, and even if Ayuk is good, and even if Ayuk stays healthy, and I said if on purpose a lot, Terry ain't going to be there forever. So Antonio Williams to me is a draft winner. Great spot. Kendall, can I interest you at all in Oscar Delp at the Saints over maybe a Max Clare, over a Justin Jolie for the Broncos with terrible draft capital?
I hate to say it, but not really. I didn't scout him that much, though. So, like, take this with a grain of salt. I just didn't scout him all that much, but I promise I scouted the guys I thought were viable, and he was kind of a thing. I don't know. I don't see it. The Saints seem like a team that when they have the pieces they want to highlight them. When you have a young quarterback, they don't typically throw to the tight end a ton. They kind of focus on early reads, and he got 2 dope early reads, like super sick. So I just don't see a world where 26 is good for Delp, and I see a world where 27 has some spicy stuff. And they've been throwing to the tight end there because he's a converted wide receiver, and he's actually a pretty damn good pass catcher. I mean, he's like miles better pass catcher than Delp is. I'm not hating on Delp. I'm just saying I think Delp's going to block more often than anything.
Malachi Fields. Can I interest you in Malachi Fields on the Giants? I'm going to give you my 10 cents, and then I want to hear yours. And I'm going to go first for a reason, not to influence you, but I don't have a lot to say.
Off my board.
Malachi, off your board? Okay, great. Then we're in lockstep. Malachi Fields is a poor man's Omar Cooper Jr. This is Malik Neighbors' team. There's not enough targets to go around. Isaiah Likely's there. Scadaboo's there. There's just not. He's going to be boom bust, touchdown bust, and you're going to be so incredibly frustrated every single week.
Yeah. Full roster clog.
Drew Aller. I heard you. We talked about it in the Carson Beck take. Like if you're at the 307, 308, kind of getting into that last 2 to 4 picks of the draft,
it's
and
not
you
a player
take. Sure,
it's a positional value taking a bad draft.
Exactly.
Dart throw, take an educated dart throw, and none of these other guys are worth an educated dart throw, right?
No. So let's talk about this player for a second here, because I know everyone's in on Chris Bell. I don't want anything to do with Chris Brazzell, Ted Hurst, or Kalen Black. I don't even want to talk about Kalen Black and the Niners. It's just making my head hurt.
Fair.
But I want to spend a couple minutes on this player because it is, I think Kendall is the most polarizing player in the second round here right now. And I just mentioned his ADP is all over the place.
Interesting.
Jonah Coleman, 4th round draft capital, 8th off the board in the 4th round to the Broncos. They brought back J.K. Dobbins on a 2-year deal. They moved way up the board last year to go get R.J. Harvey, who was a 1st round rookie draft pick in Dynasty. They've got Tyler Batty or Bidet or whatever we're calling him these days. They've got, 3 other guys that are kind of there. They just traded for Jalen Waddle. They brought in Justin Jolie. So like, I think Coleman is getting steamed up. I think he's getting steamed up because it's a running back and everyone always needs running backs. I think people believe, and I am one of these people, that J.K. Dobbins is incapable of playing 17 games. And Sean Payton took Coleman because he's already over RJ Harvey. My question to you is, do you believe if Coleman wins the 2 job and everyone is healthy at the start of the year, do you think there is enough work for Coleman to be a fantasy viable player on an offense that has got a lot of mouths to feed with no loyalty to one? So there's not an alpha, there's not a Bijan. All the guys are kind of the same, and bad draft capital. Do you think there is enough work for Jonah Coleman to actually be fantasy relevant in the over, not in the, but over the next 2 years?
Nope. Absolutely not.
Well, that was easy. Great. Let's not spend time on it then. I took him in one spot, and I've passed on him in 3 other leagues. I took him for the same reason that you and I always take players. What if we're wrong? We want at least exposure to these guys. I'm never going to be out on a player if the price is right.
The smartest thing you can do is pretend to be the dumbest person in the room.
Correct.
And that pays dividends at the top end. Yeah, I'll give a take way later on. It's for a whole separate segment on something else, but I think it's the most like honest self take I've had in fantasy. And I think it's worth mentioning at a much later. It's more for a philosophical show or for much later. Probably not this one, but it was interesting. Yeah, no. The simple thing that I'll add to it, and it's very, very simple, is from a prospect profile perspective, if you line them up, RJ Harvey and Jonah Coleman are not the same. RJ Harvey was a significantly better prospect. He underperformed. I won't take that away. Some people pop at different levels. I'm just saying, if you're saying Jonah Coleman hasn't disappointed because he hasn't had an opportunity, don't for any second think that playing running back in the NFL is fucking easy.
Yeah.
Because it ain't, and they're all insane at it, and it's a half of a half percent. RJ Harvey, there's a reason he was traded up for, and there's a reason we all got excited about him. Watch his tape. He was really good, and if they played in the same college team, like it would not be close, remotely close. They're not the same prospect. Like as terms of like college careers, RJ Harvey destroys Jonah Coleman.
Yeah.
We're only loving him because of the NFL. Like, maybe something could happen. Look, I think he's there for different reasons. I think he's a put up or shut up for RJ Harvey, and it's like it's a double-edged sword. It's a JK might not be healthy, so we need a backup. This forces Harvey to put up or shut up. Either it's the 6-man problem that's not a problem. Phil, you're a coach. You don't care if your 6th man is awesome. Either your 5th man gets better or your 6th man gets better. But either way, your starting lineup improves.
Yeah.
And in this particular spot, it's at the most injured position in the history of sports.
Yep.
So you don't mind having the backup there, and I think you're going to move on from JK 1 year earlier.
So I just pulled this because this league has finished. You and I are in this together, the annexation of Puerto Rico. It's 10-team, full PPR. So it's 10 teams. So take this with a grain of salt. I am in a rebuild personally in this league. I have 4 first-round picks next year and 3 second-round picks in the league here in 27. So I am very proud of myself at the moment. But I had the 103. I took Jordan Tyson. I had the 203. I took Eli Stowers. I had the 205. I think I may have fucked this pick, but it's okay. I wanted exposure to him. I took Jacoby Lane because I don't have him anywhere else. It's probably a reach. I'm okay with being wrong. I took Jonah Coleman at the 208. So the 208/206. I feel fine with that pick there. I don't feel good about the 202, 203 taking a Jonah Coleman 10 or 12 team. That's too early in my book. And the 208/206, so you're talking a mid-second and 12 team, a late second in 10 team. I'm totally fine with it. I also took him for the simple reason that I have Ashton Genty, Kinshawn Judkins, and I just lost Tyler Algier because they took Jeremiah Love. So I do not have a running back. I need to at least get something as a dart throw, and I'm not concerned about it because I've got 4 first-rounders next year, and this is a single quarterback league, so we won't be wasting picks on quarterbacks. I can easily go and restock next year with a Keywan Lacey out of Ole Miss, the kid from Missouri whose name escapes me right now. Those seem to be the 2 top backs. Jaden Baugh is getting a lot of steam from Florida. Go Gators. So I feel totally fine knowing I have the draft capital next year in a much better class to go and replenish with a Judkins and with a Genty headlining my running back room. So that is, if you've got, a solid RB1 and a solid RB2, that's where I would take a flyer in the late second on a Jonah Coleman and a player we're going to talk about here in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah. I'll just add real briefly that as soon as I'm a bigger fan of saying I hate this running back class, but everyone's talented. They're NFL level running backs, not great, but the chance for them to be viable, even in a small window due to an injury, right? That's more meaningful than I think most of the wide receivers. I don't see Pukas and stuff like that. I don't see the prospect profile when you get into the 3rd round wide receivers here. So I'm not saying I can be anti this running back class and say that I don't think the wide receivers have a realistic shot here, but RBs get injured all the time and things happen. And you don't need to be a great running back. Running back's the weird position where how many times have you seen a quote unquote bad running back be really good for fantasy because the way it works in the NFL, where it's not the case at wide receiver ever. There's no bad wide receiver that's just dude, he just gets the rock. It doesn't happen. Yeah. But it happens all the time. Remember Jordan Howard?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Just vulturing 2 touchdowns a game for a freaking year. It was insane, right? Is this not a dude, right? I felt like I was as athletic with him in my time in my career. So there's we're saying hey, there's these quarterbacks in the 3rd round, probably worth taking because everyone sucks and at least they have some semblance of legit upside. We're not talking about downside. I think you can make the same case, but to a lesser extent to the running backs and say it's never a mistake to draft a position that has built-in upside, where I don't think the prospect profiles of an entire generation of wide receivers here at this point isn't there.
Yep, agreed. Let's talk about one more guy, and then I want to finish with best picks of each round.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Nicholas Singleton for a couple minutes. Look, 5th round draft capital. We know that's not great. We understand that is generally what up, Wicked Pompano. Good to see you, bud. Look, we know that's not great draft capital. The hit rate is extremely low, but here's why I want to spend the last 2 minutes of the A segment here on Singleton. Tony Pollard's old. I think I'll be honest. I think one of 3 things will happen with Tony Pollard. Number 1, they keep him and just rotate him in and out with Singleton and with Spears and Carter, and it's just a disgusting backfield. That's the most likely scenario. 2, they just cut him. And then I don't know if anyone picks him up, or maybe he winds up somewhere else. 3, Tony Pollard's just not the guy anymore, and they're just ready to move on, and that's it. So I think it's possible that scenario 2 happens, and they just cut him. but I could see a world where Pollard is still there for at least one more season and they just squeeze whatever they can get out of him because they just aren't playing for this season, and that's okay. I see a path for Nick Singleton. It's not a good path. I don't think he's the guy, and I think the 5th round capital suggests he's not the guy. But are you interested in this? I've seen him go in the second, Kendall, and that's too rich for me. Are you into him in the second? Let's say late second, that same range I just gave you of Jonah Coleman, 208 to 212, to take a guy that committee out. So you're out on Singleton.
Tajay Spears took Derrick Henry off the field with a 5.6 yards per carry. Tajay Spears might have an arthritic knee, but if he's not,
I was going to say with an arthritic
Tajay
knee,
Spears is like several running back tiers way better than Singleton could ever be.
Interesting.
So like he's 3rd on the depth chart. I think the hidden thing there is like, I don't know what Tony Pollard's going to be. He's got such a wide range of outcomes, but he was like the RB1 for the last 4 games last year. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. If Cam Ward takes a step forward and all it needed was a real life wide receiver to maybe not stack the box quite as much for Pollard to continue to be like kind of decent, like I think more than likely Pollard does a poor man's version of J.K. Dobbins and is just like kind of okay, like decent enough to like he's the guy while we work on everybody else. Tajay Spears is like a shit, dude, he's averaging 5 yards a carry again as the backup. Like, we got to find touches for this guy. He's actually kind of good. We're going to hear that. I guarantee you, I'll bet my life fucking savings that we're going to hear. We're just looking for ways to get Tajay Spears involved. That's going to be a quote that happens because it's hard to take Derrick Henry off the field. And he's like the only guy that was like, yeah, he's big and I could fit in his belly, but like, I'm still rushing the same yards per carry as he is. Tajay's no joke. And he just can't rush a bunch because his knee has no cartilage left in it, right? I think when you're the 3, you need a little bit more stuff. The only thing I can give for Singleton is like the whole backfield could shift at some point. So he's a guy I'm looking at 27 and 28. I don't want to draft him early because I want to buy him when he's worth nothing in the middle of the season because he has no snaps. So he's a negative EV when you draft him, but then he's positive EV in a trade.
Yeah. As of right now, the Titans have all their picks in 27. I don't know if they've got any other picks. I'm trying to find it, and I haven't been able to pull it up fast enough. Oh, here it is. As of right now, they have all theirs. So here's what I'm going to say. I don't see a world where the Titans are not drafting early again next season. And in a draft class that's coming out next year, where you have a quarterback in place on a rookie deal, you have a wide receiver 1 on a rookie deal, you've paid Wandale, they've addressed some of the needs. I could easily see the Titans taking an early running back
and this year. They thought it was going to be this year.
Right, and another offensive lineman.
They're ready for it, man.
I think they take an offensive lineman next year in the first to help Cam. And then in round 2, they go running back. And I think you've got a decent offense with a good play caller in Daboll. And that spells the end for Singleton, Pollard.
They're going to draft their Quinshon Judkins of next year, essentially, is what they're going to do. And then it's over.
All right, Kendall, fantasy perspective, not real life football. From a fantasy perspective, in round 1, Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Ty Simpson, Kenyon Sadiq, Mekhi Lemon, Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper Jr. Give me your favorite player and their landing spot that you think will be the most impactful from round 1.
Mekhi Lemon
Nice.
To the Eagles because dude is nice, and I think we're gonna see that like the team's got a lot of stuff because it's Philly, but I just got a feeling in my gut that like the entire organization has that chip on their shoulder. Like, we won a Super Bowl and no one cares. They have the biggest chip on their shoulder as a recent winner with an insane roster. I know things about insane rosters. They get into red zone. They score points. They have offense. I see Mekhi Lemon popping, dude. Like, I think he could really pop. I got a nice feeling about it. Tate seems not fair enough at 104 because it's more of a quarterback take than it's a Tate take, and that's just everybody knows that, right? But Mekhi Lemon, man, I think that works nice.
Mekhi Lemon is my winner, best of first round as well. But just so we have a 10-second different take, I know he had his injury history. I know he's had his injury history, but so has Olave. And I love I love the fit in New Orleans. We love the head. We love the head coach. We know the offense can be amazing because we've seen it in Philly. We've seen it in LA with Kellen Moore. In Dallas with Kellen Moore. So I guess for the one season in LA. So I'm with you. I think Lemon's the winner here, but I think Tyson could easily be the best pick in that one. I think the second round, we're both in agreement. It's Stowers to the Eagles. I assume that's a yes for you as well. Let's move on.
Come on, baby. Let's go.
In round 3, Carson Beck, Antonio Williams, Oscar Delp, Malachi Fields, Aller, Branch, Lane, Brazelhurst, Black, Chris Bell. Do you have a favorite player for fantasy in round 3? I think you have one, which is the same as mine. So I'm going to let you go first so that I can take the other one because we both probably have the same 2.
Yeah, maybe I don't. I'm gonna go with Antonio Williams here only because I actually see a lot of like Christian Kirk here, where it's like underrated, productive, and the situation is just really clean for him. It doesn't hurt that like even the one there is kind of injured and stuff's just weird. Like I don't see him as the one for the team, but I see him as like a hyper productive 2, like the PPR guy, the Wandale with a neighbors type of thing. I think he's nice. It doesn't hurt. Matt Harmon is a big Antonio Williams fan, and I'm not nearly as good as Matt Harmon. If he says a wide receiver's nice, I'm just going to blindly follow him.
I just took, and I talked about this earlier. This is a real league at the 203 and the 204. I'm going to talk about Antonio Williams is for me the same player as you, but I took Chris Bell at the 203 and Antonio Williams at the 204, and I passed on Coleman and Singleton. In a league where I need some running backs, but I think the value is better here. So for me, Antonio Williams is the winner, but Chris Bell is also a winner. I think it's a year away. If he hadn't torn the ACL, I think we would have been talking about Bell higher than Denzel Boston, if I'm honest, at the back of that first round. It's going to be time. He needs time. But I think there is a world where the Dolphins are drafting early next year. I could easily see them taking a Jeremiah Smith or a Ryan Williams early as that kind of a caliber wide receiver, but I think that hurts whoever this kid they took before Caleb Douglas. I think that hurts Caleb Douglas, as you called it, the sacrificial X, more than it hurts Chris Bell, because Chris Bell profiles as the wide receiver 2 and not an alpha wide receiver 1. So give me Chris Bell and Antonio Williams in that round. In the 4th round, Jonah Coleman, Elijah Surratt, Mike Washington, Skylar Bell. Anyone that we didn't talk about? Do you have anyone there that you think is fantasy relevant? And if you do, who's your favorite player in the 4th?
I'll give a little bit of love to Surratt on the Ravens, only because I don't think Surratt's great at a lot of things, but I do think he fits kind of a need. I think he can be kind of like a big slot, like a power slot situation. I mean, I like Flowers, but I just think they need another weapon, and I think Surratt could develop into, again, I'm saying it a lot, but like there's this like the underrated wide receiver 2 that just kind of makes things work a little bit and gets in there, like a guy that gets in your flex a decent amount. I think Surratt was overrated in the draft, you know, type of thing, but he's got good soft skills. I don't know. I like him enough that I think he can be valuable there. I don't think he's ever highly productive. And I'm at a loss for words because I'm looking at the names and I'm just like, you're asking me a question I just don't want to answer.
No,
but I have to provide a take because it's what we do here. But I do think Surratt, when drafted appropriately, is somewhat valuable that can sneak into a flex.
It's hard for me because they took Jacoby Lane in the 3rd round, and we both liked Lane. Yeah, I liked Surratt. I wish he had gone in the 3rd and not the 4th. I wish he had gone to a better team for his fit than the Ravens, because there's just too many guys there for him to really be meaningful with Jacoby Lane and Flowers, and like no one.
Jacoby Lane busts hard, like because everyone in this class can bust hard. Everyone can. If Jacoby Lane busts hard, let's pretend that's we're already operating on like a 1/3 sort of chance situation. In that case, with an aging Mark Andrews, all of a sudden you're like, oh, what I'm saying, we're talking about 4th round in 2026. Okay, that's context. So take that with a grain of salt. But if there's one injury, Surratt gets more interesting. The Surratt take is not a Surratt take. It's more of a look at the offense is kind of, fragile. Like they don't actually have that many pieces. And if you remove one, you kind of need to make something happen, and they need to put up points. Their defense was massively disappointing anti-Ravens team. So that for all those reasons, I need that context because I can't be pro Surratt, but I can be pro situation, and it's decent.
I am I'm struggling with a lot of it for all the obvious reasons, but I think if I have to pick somebody in the fourth, it's Surratt. We didn't talk about him tonight. I don't think we need to, but Brennan Thompson is someone that I think I want to. The camp hype's going to go crazy because of the speed and Mike McDaniel, but I just don't see it. 5th round player. This one's easy for me. Reggie Virgil, Justin Jolie, Max Bredesen, Emmett Johnson, Tanner, I don't even know, Kozil, whatever. Nick Singleton and Adam Randall. This one, Kendall's an easy Emmett Johnson for me. Only
actually, I was going to say same.
There's a clear path here. Ken Walker's clearly the guy, here's my take on why. 2 reasons I liked Emmett Johnson to the Chiefs. The draft capital is atrocious, so that clearly means that this kid is more than likely not going to be a player you can rely on in fantasy, but he catches a lot of passes. That is helpful for fantasy. Number 2, we just saw the Chiefs for 3 years, take a 7th round Rutgers running back, not a good football school, 7th round, and you've got a player that Isaiah Pacheco became fantasy relevant. Now, I understand that they've paid Kenneth Walker, that Mahomes is going to be able to have maybe the best running back that he's had, but it's not that KW3 is not without his own injury history. So I do think in the 5th round, Emmett Johnson, it's a dart throw, but it's a dart throw the same comp that I made with Carson Beck earlier. You may wind up with a couple of weeks of usage when you need it from Emmett Johnson in your flex in week 13, week 14, when you're trying to make that last push to the playoffs. And he could be that guy that falls in the end zone and gets you 12 points in a week that you desperately need. That's it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, Ken Walker does run like an animal, and if an injury were to happen, that is an insane job to walk into. We're talking about opportunity with a lot of these guys. Right. Yeah. The reason that I'm a big fan of draft tight end or running back, and that's it in rounds 3 and 4, is because the opportunity is massive when it happens, or the upside is there. It's not so much. I just don't like his draft cost in fantasy. I feel like his pre-draft comps were just too elevated. Just his hype was too much. So he's going too early in my opinion. So I can't click the button on him quite often, but when we're talking about draft capital and who should do something, there's a reason he's going a little bit higher, and I get it. Too high for my blood, but if the first quarter of the season is kind of disappointing for him because everyone's healthy, that's a guy that I'm keeping my eye on. He's starred in every one of my leagues. Is like keep an eye on. Same way I keep an eye on Caleb Johnson. Some of these guys I can't quit. I think there's like a when it hits, though, it could hit harder than you think. I'm just looking for a value spot, so it's nice.
Yep. Ironically,
little love to Adam. By the way, let me ask you, Adam Randall, just because I'm actually genuinely curious. I didn't scout him all that much, but there's this weird sort of like it's worth mentioning because it's the only pick in this 5th round it has several asterisks. Like, do you know the story behind the Adam Randall pick?
Yeah.
Like the owner was like,
owner wanted to make a pick.
I want to make a pick, and it's a weird pick. He's a converted wide receiver, right? So there's some weird things here. There's a Kerryon Johnson. I like my converted wide receivers. Who's the guy that the Giants back at Tyrone Tracy's converted wide receiver? It can work. It cannot work. It's this weird pick where like Derrick Henry is going to actually go to 0 sometime soon, and the backups kind of left. So. I'm actually curious. I'm asking you because I don't have a take. I drafted him for the first share about an hour ago or so, and I don't know what to think. Do you have any insight on Adam Randall for a curious listener?
Asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Here's what I like about Adam Randall. He catches the football. Here's what I don't like about Adam Randall. Derrick Henry's not going away this season. Justice Hill is not going away this season. So how are you going to get enough of other than preseason, which I do not give a shit about? How are you going to get enough of a real look if everyone is healthy to determine if this guy makes your roster next season. That's my only concern. And that's my concern with a lot of these guys. The difference is, and this is what we just talked about, and Emmett Johnson, unless they're going to bring back Kareem Hunt, Emmett Johnson probably gets on the field this year a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
It's
third down role is actually his, in my opinion.
That's what I mean. Like, he's not displacing Kenneth Walker. Of course he's not. That's ridiculous, and that's not what I'm saying. But even Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson have to come off the field at some point, if nothing more than just to rest. If you take Derrick Henry off the field, Justice Hill goes into the game. Now, I understand Keaton Mitchell's gone, and I think that's what Adam Randall is the Keaton Mitchell role, but I think Keaton Mitchell's better.
Keaton Mitchell's so good.
Right, so that's my point. So it's like you're basically taking that kind of a skill set, you're downgrading it, you're watering it down, right? It's like that year in Detroit in 23 where they had DeAndre Swift and Monty, right? And everybody was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then they all of a sudden are like, no, now we have Gibbs and Monty. We've upgraded that role so that we can basically superpower our backfield.
You're on the Justice Hill has the job, and in 27, somebody's going to come and overtake all of them. That's probably
you're telling me a 5th round pick is going to be a guy that you think is going to be a part of your rotation? No way. And here's the other piece.
Your rotation. You know?
Well, here's the other piece. You really think at some point when Derrick Henry is no longer Derrick Henry and it's over, you don't think the Ravens are either going to go sign a vet or go and grab, the next RB1, that the best RB1 that they value that they can get? So I think for me it's fine, but I don't know what you're going to get out of him. I don't know what you're going to get out of a lot of these guys. So
hey, we'll burn it.
Hard.
I had to ask out of like, am I missing something? Man, I gotta know. I just gotta know. He's such a weird dude. So hey, that's the 5th round. Fifth round of the bad draft class, man. Is they're going to be on our show as guests rather soon.
No kidding. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Kendall and I are going to go in the green room because I've just got the red light on Sleeper is blowing up because I'm on the clock in 3 different leagues, and apparently people want my picks. So Kendall and I are going to be in the green room for a little while after this, making some trades, not with each other, but we're going to go talk about
when the Patreon comes. We will let you in on this. By the way, you want to see our real trade negotiations? We are doing that. So if you want to see how we do it, whether to learn something or to see how bad we are, your call. But we're gonna let you behind the scenes. If you want to help us keep the lights on, no profit, just less money sink, that would be awesome.
If nothing more, it will be, are you not entertained? So this has been another episode of The Extra Point. We appreciate y'all being here. Last thing before we wrap the show next Tuesday will be our last Tuesday show. I am moving the show back to Wednesdays. We will make that announcement all over our socials, all over Discord. We'll put that out into the universe at the top and the bottom of the show.
Get your hump day
but
memes on.
Yeah, come hang out next Tuesday, and then after that, be prepared for us to move to Wednesday nights, and we will be going a little bit earlier in the evening as well. Get you guys some beauty rest. But thanks for joining another episode of The Extra Point. We out.